Hello, my name is Dmitry. I am Bnei Noah from Kharkov, and actually I've been giving classes on Torah weekly portion for the last 2-3 years, but unfortunately it was only in Russian language. This is the first time I'm trying to say something wise and interesting in English, so if you like it, great. If you don't like it, it's also great. I decided to give a nice idea of my favorite rabbi is Rav Cherki, and today's Torah weekly portion is Beshalach. So let's talk about it a little bit. And this Parsha is a Torah weekly portion, and I hope you know most of the words I use. So this Parsha starts with the words Vayehi. Normally, usually, but not always, this expression has got negative connotation in the text. We saw it many times, but it is hard to imagine what kind of negativity we can talk about right now, because very soon the whole Jewish nation leaves Egypt. What better can it be for the Jewish nation? So why it is written Vayehi? Vice versa, this is a very happy event. So we need to know, we need to understand, to figure out what is written here, what is meant. The whole project Geulat Mitzrayim, Geulah is a redemption in English, but it's or deliverance or whatever it is. I think that the best way to put Geulah here, and next time you will understand what I'm talking about. So the Geulat Mitzrayim was not successful. We see it right from the word Vayehi, and if it was successful, then we would not be sitting right now watching computers and talking about the exodus from Egypt. But we talk about the last redemption, Geulah, and this is it. There it is, the whole enchilada. So the Geulat Mitzrayim was supposed to be the Geulah of the whole Am Israel. In other words, Geulah of the whole world. And this would have finished the business completely. But there is something went wrong, and now something is making it difficult and actually detains the redemption. It is very, very slow in motion. Something goes together with Geulah and makes it slow. So we need to figure out why it makes why it makes it slow. We need to note why Torah is writing us those things. Something that happened long time ago. And the reason is simple. This might happen anytime, not only 3,000-4,000 years ago. From here, we learn how Geulah is taking place. And actually, the part of redemption process has got inside Vayehi, this negative expression. And what happens after? The next word is Beshalach. If we read our Torah weekly portion in the very beginning, 13:17. What is the meaning of the word Beshalach? Actually, there is a huge difference between biblical Hebrew and modern Hebrew, between Lashon HaKodesh and the Hebrew they speak right now in Israel. In biblical Hebrew, there are two meanings of this word. Both of them we see in Midrashim. One meaning of Beshalach is to send away or to divorce, Girush. But there is another meaning, and actually it has an opposite meaning, to see somebody off. When your party is over and the host, normal host, I would say the ideal host, must see his guest or her guest off. So here we can see that Pharaoh was seeing the Jewish people off, right? He keeps on walking with us. We did not finish the work completely. So the word Pharaoh has got letters inside, here, afar, and it is translated like dust. It is the basis of our hardships. It is heavy in some sort and slows down the process of redemption. At first, it is hard to believe how king of Egypt can interfere in the Geulah. or there is a reason hidden somewhere, but it is written anyway in the first pasuk. In Mishnah Eduyot, we read about a man who is half free and half slave. You ask me, how is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. In reality, any person can be free or can be enslaved. But in Mishnah, there are two masters owned one slave. And one of them own 50% plus 50%. So one of the owners, one of the masters, let him go, let him free. So now his status is interesting. This man is half slave and half a free man. In other words, he works one day for his owner and one day for himself. Or, to put it differently, 50% of money he makes goes to the owner, to the master, and the remaining 50% goes to his own pocket. So the only our concern is financial. What do we do with a man like this? The Beit Gilel, to be precise, Beit Hillel, says to Beit Shammai, you fix the owner, but you did not fix him. They mean the slave. What are you doing? Beit Shammai continues. You take care of the owner only. What about that poor man himself? He cannot marry a female slave because he's 50% free man, and the same way he cannot marry a free woman because he is a 50% slave. It's called vicious circle in modern English. According to the law, a free man cannot take a wife from the slaves, and the other way around. Or do you want to say it is not important and let it be like this, no problem at all? There is a commandment in Torah, and it is called pruvervu. In English, it's multiply and be fruitful. Very famous commandment given to Adam first. This commandment only for those who are obliged to get married. If the person falls out from this category, so he is not commanded, right? But Beit Shammai answered, but not for this was created the world. Look at the jump in a way of thinking. We talked about the private person, and he had some small things, or we can call it a big things, but there were problems, like we call them individual problems, right? And one needs to find the solution. And when we try to fix his private problem, we come to the big question, why the world was created. And our Mishnah goes on. The world was created for the purpose of pruvervu, to be fruitful and to multiply. So before we used to make children because of many small reasons. But right now, we find out that by making children, we make tikkun haolam. Tikkun haolam in modern English, it's like rectifying, correcting the world. So let's get back to our poor man in slavery. We need to make him go free. Actually, this is a decision. Even if he doesn't want to, we have to. We must make him go free. Basically, we make free the 50% of the slave portion in that man. And after that, he's completely free. But there is a question, very serious question. What about the money he costs on the slave market? He will need to pay the money to his ex-owner in the future. And Beit Hillel accepted the opinion of Beit Shammai. And this is halacha for now. We must feel that there is some hidden message behind the story. The man in question is an archetype of Am Israel. Am is a word for nation, people, and Israel doesn't need translation at all. Am Israel is the Jewish nation. And really, the Jewish nation was slave in Egypt. And who was the owner of Am Israel in Egypt? Now we know. Who made a decision the Jews would end up in a slavery in Egypt? We know the answer. This is the God himself. So we had actually two masters in Egypt, the God himself and the Pharaoh. And they used to be owners at the same time. But one of the masters made us free, and this is what God made. But the other master, the role of Pharaoh, he didn't want to do the same thing. And because of this, the whole Tikkun HaOlam, I already quoted, the best translation would be rectifying the world, is delayed. Pharaoh makes problems. So we should use the power to make him let us go. So what power are we talking about? Pharaoh used to be the master of the world. What power is above him? Actually, in Egypt, at the end of the slavery, there were 10 makot, or 10 plagues, or 10 punishments. Call it like you want. And eventually, he let us go. But we have some unpaid bills in regard with Pharaoh. We owe him some money for our deliverance. Even though we left Egypt with the perfect goal of correcting or rectifying the world, we still owe him something. And that is what sits behind the word Vayehi. And at the end of the story, some kind of frustration went down to Pharaoh, to his country, to his culture, to his people. So he's expecting some compensation. He let people go, but he goes with those people side by side. Like he's saying, you are free right now, but you owe me some cash. In other words, initially, there should be the total Yetziat Mitzrayim. Look at the expression, Yetziat Mitzrayim. It is not written Yetziat Mi Mitzrayim. It's written Yetziat Mitzrayim. The whole Mitzrayim was supposed, the whole Egypt was supposed to go. Unfortunately, it was not successful. As a result, we got some obligation or commitment towards Pharaoh. To cut a long story short, we have unexpected difficulties on our way to Geulah, to our redemption. Maybe we can understand the problem deeper when we read the rest of the pasuk. By pasuk, I mean verse. And again, we come another, I would say, example of fantastic words in Hebrew, and it's very difficult to find for them translation in English. So, Vayehi Beshalach Paro ed Ha'am. It is written in the very beginning of our weekly Torah portion, Beshalach. And Paro sent some people called Am. Who are they? Who is this Am? Who is this nation? And from our previous lessons, we know that Am is Erev Rav. And it means people from other nations who joined Jews during the 10 plagues. Used to be a lot of them. According to Midrashim, there are 202 people in total. We're talking about males. I will try to translate the whole verse in modern Hebrew, and I'm quoting our rabbi right now, so I'm trying to translate the whole verse in modern English. And you check if my translation is correct or not correct. It is written that here the original God's plan was to take Jewish people off from Egypt to Israel on the straight road. We know there is a very straight road from Mitzrayim, from Egypt, to Gaza, to Ashkelon, to Ashdod. It's only like 3, maximum 4 days walk. And we call it through the land of Plishtim, because they used to live there. And actually it makes sense. I mean, the plan of the God himself was great. It is the shortest way. But because Jews were afraid of fighting Plishtim, and Plishtim used to be very strong in that time, God decided to let them go through the other way around, through the Midbar. Midbar, I would translate it wilderness. It's not I would say this is the best actually word for it. And it is a very long way. If somebody wants to walk right now from Mitzrayim through Sinai, through Midbar to Eretz Israel, it would take him around 11, maybe 12 days. So the original plan was 3 days. Now we talk about 11 days. So this is the whole translation. And I think the translation seems to be very close to what is written in Torah, isn't it? So now let's make a quick turn and get to the kindergarten. And it's not important where the kindergarten is, in Israel or in the United States or even in Russia. If some kid asks a teacher why Jews did not go straight to the land of Israel, why they had to go around through the wilderness, what do you think will be the answer of a teacher? Sure, the answer will be to receive Torah. But it is not written in Torah that is a fact, not a word. In Torah, we read the initial plan was to go straight to Israel, and only afterwards the plan was changed. It means that Matan Torah, receiving Torah, was not planned at all. It happened for some extra reason later on. Actually, there were several reasons. Something went wrong, so the plan was changed, and Jews went to Sinai to receive Torah. And afterwards, 40 years, actually I think would say the plan A, plan B, and now we talk about plan C, and there'll be the plan D after A, B, C, D, after the Chet HaMeraglim, the problem with spies. Sounds strange, the whole idea, or not at all. What do you think? Could we have entered Israel without Torah? Why not? Who said we must receive Torah? Okay, I'll give you a short example. There were great people in the past. Abraham, Sarah, Yitzchak, Rivka, Yaakov, Rachel, Leah. I would call them great of the greatest. Sorry for my English. And they did not receive Torah. It means there is a difference between the individual and the nation. But if I'm a private person, I'm a small guy, do I need Matan Torah? Maybe if I'm a person like Abraham, so there is no problem, I can live without it. The point is, if the Jewish nation was on the same level of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, there was a big chance there was no need to receive Torah at all. From the first verse, we understand 100% clear that Matan Torah was not the original plan at all. Like they call it in Talmud, Latchila. It happened post factum, Ba'armeik, B'diavad. What is Moshe selling to Jews right now? He tells them he was sent by the God in order to fulfill the promise given to our grandfathers many, many years ago, to take us to Eretz Israel. This is all he says to them, nothing else, not a word. When he went to Pharaoh, he also put some religious ideas inside of his speech. Let us go only for 3 days, and we will worship our God, etc., etc., and we'll come back. But everybody knows at that time, and everybody understood, that was a blatant bluff, which was sold to Pharaoh only. Actually, it didn't work. He didn't buy it. So everybody then wanted one thing only, to leave Egypt and arrive at the land of Israel. So the whole idea of Matan Torah, the religious aspect of leaving Egypt, was not planned at all. The main goal was to go to Eretz Israel, and this is it. So actually, this is the end of the class of Rav Uri Sherki with my small insertions in there. And the whole plan was not to give you a full class, but to give you an example how our favorite rabbi, Rav Uri Sherki, how he makes the idea sounds very reasonable, interesting, and a little bit new. So I would recommend you to listen to his classes. They are available in Hebrew, in French, a little bit of English, and in Russian language. Thank you very much. If you like my whole idea, just put it like, and if you don't like, just put a dislike. Thank you very much, and I'm closing the video right now.